and sorrow. It's one of bravery and it's one of courage in the face of insurmountable adversity. It's also a love story and a wonderfully reassuring and heartwarming testament to the compassion and to the generosity of the human race. Upon learning of Graham's battle with high-risk acute myeloid leukemia and the enormous cost of experimental treatment he was to undergo in Seattle, Washington, people across this country and in other parts of the world unhesitatingly opened their hearts, donating and raising tens of thousands of dollars to send him to the US for that treatment. Graham's battle with this hideous disease has been shared every step of the way by his wife, Samantha, who created the A Donor for Graham website. And it was through that website that they received literally hundreds of emailed messages expressing hope and encouragement for Graham, and in many cases, pledging financial support. At last count, there were 148 pages of emails containing messages like this one from Gail in Inglewood, Victoria. Dear Sam, you have all been in my thoughts and prayers. You are an amazing family, and sharing your experience has surely helped so many people all over the world. Your love and devotion for your family is a wonderful inspiration to those who feel they cannot go on when facing serious illness. From the UK, Mary writes, Hello Graham, saw your news item on Anglia TV here in Cambridgeshire last night, and I was very moved by your story. At 44, I'm too old to be a bone marrow donor, but I will be donating as much money as I can. I'm also going to write to multi-millionaires here in the UK who I'm sure could spare a few bob. When Graham was simply not well enough to update his blog, folks, Samantha did it for him. And so many of the emails were written to her, like this one from Kunal in the United States. He said, Thank you, dear Sam, for taking the time to update us. What you've shown through this terrible time serves as a constant reminder to all of us as to how to deal with adversity. You are truly a remarkable person, as are Graham and the kids. Writing from Perth, Anne says, Hi, Graham. I saw your story on a current affair last night, and I want to help you with my small donation of $10. I wish it could be more, but I'm a senior citizen on a pension. From his home in Illawarra, Nathan Muntis said this, It's such a shame in this day and age that there is a price on life. This makes me sad. Feel comfort in the knowledge that there are people out there who have love for a fellow human. And Nathan could so easily have been talking about a lady named Phyllis. She owns a small takeaway shop in South Melbourne. And in her email, she said this, In our store, we have a small tips jar that was filled up by generous customers for my staff's outstanding work throughout the year. Between us, we decided the money in the tips jar would be put towards buying an air conditioner. However, one morning my staff and myself saw your story in the paper, and we were touched by what we read. We decided that instead of an air conditioner, we would prefer to help a family in need, so we more than happily donate the money for Graham. And then there was this very touching email from Brooke, who writes, My daughter and I saw you guys on the Today Show recently. I can only imagine the journey you've all had in the last few years and would love to do something to help. My daughter's 5 and her name is Jolie. We've made some plum jam from the abundant fruit on our trees and have decided we'd like to donate some of the profits for you guys. Jolie is very happy doing this for Graham, and so what we're going to do is walk door to door locally. And we've printed scrolls detailing Graham's plight with donation details. In her email, Colleen, Graham's doctor in the United States, wrote, It brought tears to my eyes to listen to Graham speak of his time here. He is so incredibly brave. And Samantha says that Graham's bravery and cheerfulness was apparent right up to the end, which sadly, after such an heroic fight, he succumbed to a chest infection at 1:30 p.m. on Thursday, the 2nd of July. To Samantha, to Jack and Poppy, to Sue, Jonathan and Monique and family, to Damien, to Jenny and Connor, and to Beryl and Tracy, we do extend to you our deepest sympathy and heartfelt condolences. Adding their condolences are students, parents and staff of St Leonard's College and the wider community. They say they've learned so much from Graham and admired his strength, and they say their thoughts are with Sam, Jack and Poppy today. This, as I'm sure you'll understand, ladies and gentlemen, is a bittersweet day for Samantha. She has lost her husband, the light of her life, and her children, Jack and Poppy, have lost their daddy. But Sam is also very glad that the interminable pain and suffering that Graham has so stoically endured over the past 27 months has come to an end. And so this service really is not about mourning his death, but celebrating his life, a life which began 44 years ago at Bedfordshire in the UK. The date was the 22nd of June, 1965. The Stones, the Beatles, Petula Clark and the Beach Boys were all in the top 10. The Sound of Music was the runaway movie of that year, while on TV people were watching Get Smart, I Dream of Jeannie, The Avengers, and of course Coronation Street. Graham had a happy childhood and was doted on by his mum and dad. As he grew up, people found him to be a very gentle, likeable, easygoing young man with a very dry sense of humour. From a very early age, Graham had displayed a very keen interest and aptitude for art, and in fact on leaving school he took up printing as a trade, and after he and Samantha were married he got an arts degree with honours, majoring in history. Sam, who was an Aussie on a working holiday in England, says her very first meeting with Graham was in a club in 1995 where he was playing bass guitar in a blues band calling itself Red Road. She says there was an instant mutual attraction between them, and she was delighted when Graham called her the following week. One of the things Sam learned about Graham was that he was a very seasoned traveller. He'd spent 12 months travelling in the USA and Canada, and together they visited Japan, Italy, Spain, France, the Czech Republic, Scotland, Austria, Germany, and Greece. During their early years together, Sam says they'd be doing something every single day, something different, morning, noon, and night. They'd be maybe having yum cha in the morning, be at an art exhibition in the afternoon, and at a West End theatre in the evening. On her return to London, having done some more travelling around Europe and Africa, she and Graham decided to get married. Sam came back to Australia, and when Graham arrived a short time later, they bought a 1977 orange VW Combi van and travelled around Australia in 1996, spending 3 months living in Cairns. Well, after their marriage in December that year, they lived in Sydney for a time, and then in 1998 they headed back to London, where their first baby, Jack, was born. Now, at that time, Graham moved from printing into graphic design, and Sam managed a radiology department at a large private hospital in London's prestigious Harley Street. However, because Sam had the high-paying job, Graham was able to become a house dad. And for 2 years, he and Jack spent a lot of time together, and they had a real ball, didn't you? They tell me they took train and bus excursions, they went to art galleries, they fed the ducks in Hyde Park. Do you remember that, Jack? And they made a number of visits to the British Museum, something that Graham enjoyed just as much as Jack. Ultimately, Graham and Sam decided, though, to make Australia their permanent home, and Sam says she realised that Graham was more than happy to call Australia home when he moved his entire CD and vinyl record collection to Melbourne, and subsequently became naturalised. Well, after renting a house in Bentley for a little while, Graham and Sam bought their present home in South Road, a house which in 2005 also became home to their baby daughter, Poppy. In the early days here in Melbourne, Graham had worked for a company called Motive 8 in Springvale, then Thomson Reuters and Q, but he didn't find those jobs particularly satisfying. But happily, he landed a job with a company known as Omni Graphics. Now, Omni's managing director is Richard Fitt, and in his tribute he says this: Graham worked in the pre-press department at Omni Graphics and quickly established himself not only as a very fine operator, but an integral Omni family member. Like in most families, sibling ribbing and name-calling is part and parcel of family life, and Graham gave as good as he got. With his sharp wit and yet gentle nature, he was a force to be reckoned with. Each and every one of us at Omni Graphics has a Graham story. Being aware of our production manager's absolute dislike of ABBA, Graham not only presented him with an ABBA best-of compilation, but to add insult to injury, he ensured that it was sung entirely in Spanish. And then there was Graham's tendency to exceed Omni Graphics' internet download limit by streaming his favourite radio program live from England, Naughty Graham, but as usual, classic Graham. But who would begrudge him his favourite show? Everyone here today would have special memories of Graham. Some would involve a chuckle, most would involve a laugh, or at the very least,